So hello and welcome to SW's Property Matters podcast. My name is Dan and I work in the marketing team here at Sanderson Weatherall. And today I'm joined by two experts from our specialist holiday and caravan park team. Hello to you both. I'll hand over to you first, Adam, for a quick introduction.
Thanks, Dan. My name's Adam Birkinshaw. I'm a shareholding partner at Sanderson Weatherall and head up the caravan and holiday parks team. What's a pretty niche and specialist division, really. There aren't many people doing what we do across the country. Just a bit of introduction how I got into this. My background, I guess, is in commercial valuation work originally, when I then later specialised into leisure and trading properties. The success of this led to the acquisition of Edwards & Partners, which was a niche holiday and caravan park firm, which Sanderson Weatherall acquired in 2013, so going on 8 years now. Been very successfully incorporated into the business, and we're now a niche provider of sale and valuation advice across the country.
Thanks, Adam. And Lee, over to you.
Yeah, hi. My name's Lee Southern. I work out of the Devon office, covering the south of the country. I've been an agent for approximately 15 years now, covering all aspects of sort of commercial and business transfer agency. Approximately 4 years ago, I was approached to join the Caravan Parks team at Sanderson Weatherall. Having been someone that was an avid caravaner and camper for most of my life, it seemed like a great opportunity, and haven't looked back. So.
That's brilliant. Right, thank you both very much. So today we're just going to talk a little bit about the leisure industry, more specifically holiday and caravan park industry. Last year was an extraordinary year for sort of all involved, but obviously the caravan and holiday park market felt the ups and downs more than most. I think it's fair to say. Did you want to just touch on last year for the market?
Yeah, I think everyone will be in no doubt that 2020 has been a fairly exceptional year, really. Encouragingly, it seems that the caravan holiday park market has certainly ended 2020 on very much a high, really, despite still being in a lockdown. And where we are at the moment in 2021, it's certainly, the market is very, very buoyant, and we're seeing demand across all sectors of the market, really. But like I say, back in 2020, when March hit, it was a fairly scary time, really, for our business and for a lot of park operators out there. The doors were shut just as we came into Easter, one of the busiest times of the year, and there was a lot of people who had to adapt and manoeuvre to the situation, really. I think what was fortunate is a lot of parks where they have private owned static and seasonal touring caravans actually had the benefit of receiving all the pitch fees prior to March that year, which certainly helped them through the year. And a lot of operators chose to put a positive spin on it and chose to do a lot of capital works and expenditure improvement on the parks whilst they were closed in the fine weather that we enjoyed.
That's great. Lee, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think caravan business, park business, and certainly holiday industry has always been sort of very good at diversifying and sort of changing what they do. I think sort of there's been a real trend towards hire fleet, and we're seeing a lot of the businesses sort of look to accommodate that in traditional sort of caravan holidays and the more sort of the buzzword is the staycation. So I think we're seeing a lot more sort of different types of holiday accommodation being brought to these parks for obviously now as we're sort of returning back to some form of normality.
Yeah, I think we've written a few times in your market report, which I'll touch on in a minute, about glamping and the rise in the staycation, and as you say, the different forms that park owners are introducing to meet this demand is really interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think one of the big wins, Dan, has been that when we can't travel abroad, people still need their leisure time and downtime, and ultimately they've looked for the opportunity to holiday closer to home. And certainly what a lot of operators and caravan manufacturers have experienced is a substantial increase in people who haven't previously considered a caravan or UK holiday even. So that's a very encouraging sign. I for one, I went away last year, and this year I've already booked 3 holidays that are in sort of Wales, Scotland and England. So wow. It's covering all of the country, but you get to see a bit of your homeland, really.
Yeah. So each year you produce a sort of market report with stats, information about the industry. From the one that you produced last year, surprisingly to many, I guess, it appeared that demand for parks had been unexpectedly high. Lee, do you have sort of understanding? Why do you think that might be?
I think it's a strong sector to be in for all the reasons we've discussed. We've just sort of mentioned. Dare I say it? Would you want to invest in other more sort of traditional commercial areas, or look to buy a holiday park at the moment? I think also a lot of people have sort of rethought their lives and have considered like the lifestyle sort of sector, and instead of working the 9-to-5 office job. So we're sort of seeing increased sort of demand from those type of operators as well, or new entrants, as it were.
That's great.
I think it also comes from the fact that the holiday sector has always been considered a very attractive asset class, really. Offers a very secure return on your investment, lucrative annual returns from established businesses. And in the past, not only in the current sort of challenging times we're in, it has always been renowned as being a fairly resilient sector throughout all the previous recessions and the economic crisis. People staying at home. And one of the other factors really I think about demand is the scarcity of supply. Planning, there are still significant planning constraints, and there are only certain real honeypot locations where people want to go. So that again is driving the market, and operators at the moment enjoying buoyant times and good returns. And if they haven't got a reason to sell, then you ask yourself, why would they?
Yeah, very true. You mentioned before recording that you often hear sort of and speak to park owners that are approached directly by operators. Do you have any advice, sort of general advice, that you'd give to them if they are approached in that sort of way?
It is an increasingly common occurrence that there's operators out there that are doing direct mail shots, sometimes multiple mail shots more than once a year, seeking new park opportunities. And again, I think it's a scarcity of supply that is leading them to do this. So it can only be expected. However, what I would say is there is no getting professional advice is one of the key pieces of advice I'd give you, really. Somebody who operates in the sector day to day. And if you are genuinely thinking of selling your park, then getting the right advice and ultimately putting your park in a competitive bidding environment, whether that's on the open market or a more confidential, discreet approach, is a surefire way to ensure you maximise value, or at least know that the offer that you've got on the table is as good as you're going to get in the market.
That's great. So then leading on from that, this is for you, Lee. For anyone looking to sell at the moment, do you sort of have any tips that will help them stand out in what, as you discussed, is quite a saturated market?
Yeah, I think for sure. I mean, as Adam says, the first thing is, I think, is engage the right people to sort of advise on the park. And first and foremost, I think you've got to look at your planning and what you've got and explore the potential there. You've also, I think, you've got to look at how you've developed your park. Do you want to develop out everything you've got, or should you leave something in it for the next person? I mean, often we find that there's more value in sort of vacant pitches than there are in fully developed traded pitches. I think you've got to, like all these things, you've got to maximise your earnings and present that information sort of correctly, because that's only going to help. And get all your ducks in a row, as it were. So make sure you've got all your licenses and sort of financial paperwork in order before going to the park. This will just ultimately save you time once you have got an interested purchaser. Obviously, one of the key things is make your park look as good as possible. So spend the time and the money improving it, and make it as attractive as possible to the next person. But the key is engage the right professional people, and they can advise you from the outset, really.
That's brilliant, thank you. On the flip side, I guess you also deal with a number of confidential sales as a team. How do they differ? I guess it's pretty obvious, but just maybe a bit more about that, Adam.
They are becoming increasingly common, and again, it depends. There's people there's occasions where we would recommend a park is marketed on a confidential basis, primarily if it's a larger park that where we know it's going to be a larger group operator or corporate occupier, where we already know who the likely buyers will be. So the key to maximising value is to ensuring competitive interest between them. Sometimes by going down a more discreet confidential route, you can gain a premium on those values, really, if they know it's not been out there and it is a discreet approach. Often we'll get caravan operators who obviously, for reasons of discretion, don't want it openly advertised to their caravan owners that the park is on the market, or their immediate neighbours, in which case we can target just our existing applicant database and follow up with other leads that we're getting on a daily basis from new operators and lifestyle businesses out there wanting new opportunities. But there's no downside of a confidential sale, other than for a lifestyle business. I guess you do want to get it out there as far and wide as possible, because we've sold parks to all sorts of different operators, from all people from all different walks of life. They might have sold a business in another part of the UK completely unrelated to the holiday park sector, looking for a fundamental change. So it very much depends on the park and the specific circumstances, but like I say, both are equally successful in their own right. It's just a case of getting the right advice of which one is the most appropriate in the right circumstances.
Thank you. I know I'm speaking to you before, you didn't want to sort of choose favourites for this one, so it's maybe a controversial question, but you have dealt with parks all over the UK. Sort of put here, can you tell us a couple of your favourites? But maybe, Lee, you could talk about a couple of your favourite locations without, as you say, naming parks that you might give a bit of favouritism towards.
Yeah, well, yeah, every park's important. And I mean, for me, yeah, joining this team, I get to sort of travel around the south of the country, visiting areas and locations I've never been to before. So, I mean, I've been down to Penzance and right across to the southeast coast to Kent and in Essex to visit parks. And, I've been up into southwest Wales. And, some days I do think, there's no better job in the world. I'm sat there having my sandwich, sort of staring out to sea. This is great, albeit I might have a 4-hour drive home, but you get to see some stunning scenery, as well as meeting some really great, interesting people, and seeing a real
I know that, Adam, from speaking to you before, and you obviously cover Scotland, your drives are sometimes maybe a little more than 4 hours, but have you sort of got favourite places you've been fortunate enough to been to?
We're fairly lucky that we cover the whole of the UK, and we get to go to some pretty nice places, really. In my previous life in the commercial valuations, you go into some fairly not so nice industrial areas, but now sort of colleagues are fairly jealous that we're driving across to the national parks and to the sort of honeypot locations, really. I think in terms of scenery, my favourites probably are, once you get over to Snowdonia and into Scotland, obviously the Lake District, but being from Yorkshire myself, I do love all the parks down the Yorkshire coast, really. Some really nice parks there, and obviously you get the benefit of the Yorkshire hospitality as well.
Yeah, very good, thank you. Right, I think unless you've got anything to add on the caravan park side, I'll finish as we always do, just with a few quick fire questions. They're nothing to worry about, but may put you on the spot a little bit. Don't worry about it, Lee, I can see your face. So they're just, I guess, questions to get to know you a little bit better, all a bit silly. But we'll start with you, Lee. Are you a tea or a coffee drinker?
I'm a coffee drinker, but I've recently converted to decaf.
All right, wow.
Yeah, big step.
And Adam, tea or coffee for you?
Coffee in the morning and tea in the afternoon.
That's been a common trait, I think, with others, actually. That's maybe the sensible approach to let you get to sleep. Obviously, we've had quite a bit more time at home during lockdown. Do you fill your time with reading or Netflix? Have you got a preference, Lee?
When I'm not working, I'm fortunate I've got a snooker table, so that takes up most of my spare time when my better half will allow.
Yeah. And Adam?
Probably Netflix, I think, on an evening, as soon as we've managed to get the kids in bed after chasing them round. Otherwise, it's Peppa Pig, unfortunately.
When it comes to shopping, do you prefer sort of shopping online, or are you a high street shopper, Lee?
Online.
Online for you. And Adam?
I've thoroughly enjoyed lockdown because I cannot stand shopping at all, and even online is done as a last resort.
Very good. When it comes to houses, do you have a preference for a new build or a more traditional property, Lee?
Yeah, I live in a 1910 property, so yeah, it's got to be traditional for me.
Yeah.
Traditional all the way for me.
Yeah.
Very good. Obviously, as you spoke about, you're fortunate enough to sort of travel around the country quite a lot, but would you rather sort of moving forward, are you looking to work at home, in the office? Are you a split, or is it you're just going to be always out on the road, so it doesn't really make too much of a difference?
Yeah, I prefer to be in the car because that means I'm driving around visiting sites. But yeah, I think a healthy mix of the two would be beneficial going forward. Yeah.
Adam?
I would agree with that. I think for me, getting in the office allows me to be far more productive when you've got reports to write, etc. But like I say, the most enjoyable part is getting out and about on the road and meeting our clients. And
then the final question, and this is definitely the one that will put you on the spot. Do you have a dream dinner guest, dead or alive? You can have anyone round for a meal. Lee, who are you inviting?
Yeah, without being too sentimental, I'd actually say my grandfather, because I never really got to know him, and he was a thoroughly interesting chap, and he was a leader in the sort of steel industry. But yeah, he passed sort of before I was old enough to take an interest. So I'd like to sort of sit down and have a good chat with him, to be honest.
That's a very good answer. No pressure now on you, Adam, I'm afraid.
Given the recent lockdown, I'd be happy to have anyone round for dinner, to be quite honest.
All right, very good. All right, well, thank you both very much. I think that was really interesting to sort of dig into one of our more niche teams here at SW. So thanks a lot.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.